Guys, you know you like big knives. Everybody does. That's one of the cool things about the knife community. We love big knives. This is the Dirk Pinkerton Design Resource. It's a big knife. It's really good, and you're going to be surprised at the budget price on this. So let's turn this around and take a look at this great knife from above. Guys, another really great knife from Cjrb. This is another one of their good budget knives. This is coming in at $70. This is the Cjrb Dirk Pinkerton Design Resource. I will put a link down below. So this thing's been here since California Customs Show, so I think November timeframe. And I didn't get around to actually putting it in pocket till a few weeks later, but this has really grown on me in a fact. It didn't grow on me. I fell in love with it pretty much immediately. This is a great knife. Another great Pinkerton design. Let's get some specs out of the way. So you're looking at blade length 4.18 inches. It is done in ARPM 9. Like I said, there's a few different versions of this. There's a PVD coated version. There's a blue or smoke G10 on this. It is in a drop point blade. It is a liner lock. You're looking at an overall length of 9.14 inches and a weight of 6 ounces. So it's not heavy for a large knife. This is a very good large work folder. If you need a big knife on a job site or something, this might be the one for you. Let's get some size comparisons out of the way, because just telling you the size is not going to give you a good perspective. So your first knife is Spyderco PM2, a knife that most of you guys are going to know is a good size reference. That's why we use the same 3 every time now. Let's move on to the next knife. Benchmade 940, and as you can see, it just dwarfs the 940. This is a big knife. And then your final knife, as always, the Cjrb Sebenza Large 21, another knife most people are going to know as a size reference. This is not a small knife by any long stretch of imagination. Let's get this out of the way and talk about this great folding knife. So when I was at the California Customs Show, I was talking with the guys at Artisan at Cjrb, and they were like, yeah, we'll send one of these back with you. This is a great knife. I fell in love with this the second I got it home for a couple reasons. It is a big knife, but it is another knife that does not feel as big as it actually is. There's a lot of knives out there that when you get them and they're a bigger knife, they kind of just feel like they're too long. They're out of sorts with how far they are from the pivot. You lose a little bit of control. No, not on this. This is definitely done in an outdoor style format. This looks like a lot of the fixed blades that my dad would have carried during hunting season and that I carried during hunting season, and it's done in a folder format. ARPM 9 blade comes down nice and thin. Dirk's designs always cut well. I have yet to have one that did not cut really well. It's got a fuller that you can use as an aperture on it, and double-sided thumb studs, and you can reverse flick off of it. Typical to the Dirk Pinkerton designs, you've got this terraced chamfering that's done on this. Instead of it being completely radiused and rounded, you get these little lips that stand up. And I'm going to tell you, not only are they attractive, especially like this isn't the most attractive color, I have to admit, but I didn't want the PVD coated blade, so I got the green. This is definitely not just attractive, which it is. It gives you some tactility. On top of the fact that this is textured G10, you have these ridges that just let that fit in your hand and sit there. They're not aggressive, but you definitely know that you've got some grip on that when you've got it in your full, when you're fully wrapped around it. It is done in a liner lock. The action on this is just buttery smooth. All the Cjrbs have great action. Their bearings that they use are really good and smooth, and they do a really good job getting them centered. Access to the lock bar, just about brilliant. It is really good. They took just enough material off the lock bar to give you really good access, but not enough to make it feel sharp. The lockup on it's really good, and like I said, the action drop shot on this. Like I said, comes in a bunch of different colors. The G10 on it is good and grippy, but not overly aggressive. It's not like some of the old cold steel G10 where it would tear up your pockets. I mean, this will a little bit, as you can see, but that's because I have old pants. Like I've got a bunch of pairs of old pants that it'll catch on. The liners are married up perfectly even with the scales. You can, like I said, flick fully off of the fuller. It's a great fuller for the reverse flick. all the way down on it, cleared the full length of it. You can flick, and it just gives you a really good feel. I love reverse flick. It's my favorite deployment on a knife. The pocket clip, not at all sharp. It's a long pocket clip that sits nice in the pocket. This sits nice and forward, and it does feel good in hand. It does not turn into a hot spot. The jimping on it is decent. It's not as soft as a lot of the other jimping that I've seen on some of these CJRB knives. And the blade grind on it is done really well. The finish on it with this, they did a really good stone wash on this, and the finish has held up pretty well. There's not too many scuffs or scratches. I did just clean this up right before we did. I removed a bunch of adhesive. And like I said, it down behind the edge, not super thin, but also not too thick. It's just in that Goldilocks zone where it's just about perfect. Nice distal taper on this. So if you need a good sharp tip, you've still got a piercing tip. Little bit of belly, but still a lot of flat. So you can do some of the things that you want, and you can get way up on this. You can do some cutting if you happen to be out in the wilderness and you need to do a little bit of game. You'd have to do some game processing for small game. You still have that where you could do a little bit of work to skin an animal, but you still have all of this for doing stuff like feather sticking and things that you would want a straighter edge for. And then just the way this feels in hand, superb. It's really, really good. Now, with any knife, there's going to be some things that, oh, I meant to mention this, reversible pocket clip on this, guys. If you want a reversible pocket clip, this has a good pocket clip on it. It's nice and broad, and it is reversible. So there's a couple things I have found that I don't like, as with pretty much every knife. So right after you guys hear from this video sponsor, we'll talk about those.
Guys, you've heard me talk about Coffee Brand Coffee a bunch of times. I'm going to do it again real quick. Coffee Brand Coffee is a channel sponsor. They are a great company sponsoring small channels like mine, but they also are a guilt-free purchase because they do not practice any politics. They have a money-back guarantee, and they roast their coffee on demand. So if you're interested in it, my link down below in the videos saves you 10% at checkout, sometimes more depending on what they've got going on as far as specials and sales. So go check them out. Great product. Thank you very much for sponsoring the channel, Coffee Brand Coffee. Let's get back to the knife.
So just a couple little things. I would say I would want this knife to have a little bit of weight reduction. I think the weight reduction would make the balance of the knife overall a little bit better. It is kind of tail heavy. On a bigger knife like this, I don't mind it as much, but it is kind of tail heavy, and I like a more neutral balance. This definitely is tail heavy. A little bit of weight reduction would have resolved that, and that would make this knife appeal to a bunch more people. 6 ounces starts getting heavy when you're talking about stuff that a backpacker wants to carry. Every ounce counts, as they like to say. So that's a big one. The fuller. I wish that the fuller, well, not the fuller, I should say. I wish this was a full flat grind. If this was a full flat grind, you wouldn't have the taper and weirdness. You can see how the grind line intersects the fuller. If this was a full flat grind, I think you would have gotten you would have gotten a little bit thinner overall profile behind the edge all the way down the blade, and your fuller would not look as unusual. And I wish that they had cut the fuller in after they did the blade finishing. You can see when you do a stone wash and you have hard edges like this, the stones can't get down in when you do that tumble. They can't get down in there to actually do it. So you still see some of the rough unfinished. The end of the grind here at your choil, it could have come up a little bit further. You can see it start to form a smile. This could be brought up a little bit further because you can see where the thick edge of the grind comes up. You can follow that line up and just see right there is the end of the flat, and then it gets into that transitioning up into the ricasso there. So that would have been a little bit cooler to have that come out. That way you don't have that frown there. The pocket clip, as much as I do like the pocket clip, really, really comfortable. It is kind of long. That makes it comfortable, but it also is one of those things that it has a tendency, when I'm carrying this, I catch it on things, especially seatbelts. So I did have to straighten this pocket clip out a little bit. I bent it back, and I had to, I'd take it off and I had to straighten it out and put it in my vise and straighten it out. And then the last thing, 100% an aesthetic thing. Why the big lanyard hole? When Cjrb is one of the first companies that did a lanyard post I can see that it's a wider one. So if you wanted to use more, thicker material, you could. But the fact is, it would have looked so much cleaner without that big lanyard hole. Overall, though, is this knife a yup or a not? It's a definite yup. I dig this. I love this knife. I love a good big folder. I don't like big folders just for the fact that they're big and just for the sake of being a large folder. This has got it where it counts. It's a great, great knife. So if you're interested in something like this, like I said, there'll be a link to it down below in the description. Guys, let's turn this around, do some final thoughts. I'll send you out about your day.
There you go, guys. Another great Pinkerton design. I've said it a bunch of times. Dirk's one of those guys that just seems to make designs that I love. A lot of people are like, oh, his designs are always pretty similar. I'm like, maybe that's what I like about it. But like Ray Laconico, Elliot Williamson, Dirk Pinkerton, there's a handful of guys that just make knives that I dig every time. They just knock it out of the park for me. So link below for this. It's a great knife. You don't want to pass it up. You guys know I threw an ad in, which means that I do have sponsors. Coffee Brand Coffee, Tempered Trail, Doll Strong Knives, all sponsors of the channel. Coffee Brand Coffee, Tempered Trail have discounts built in. Speaking of discounts, I have a coupon code that works at it will save you at 40% at Beyond EDC Knives. It will save you 10% at Rosecraft, 10% at Fire & Forge Knife Works, and 10% at KATSU Knives. And that coupon code is crazysharp. All one word, all lowercase. I've got most of the major vendors down below as affiliates. When you buy stuff from them, if you're going to buy knives, please use those links. Supports the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. Same with the Amazon store. Take that, pin it your browser, use it for all your Amazon shopping. Join the public Discord down below. It says join the community. It's in the description. And I have a membership that has a private Discord. I do exclusive content. There's giveaways, and I have a premium tier sharpening tutorial series. Guys, that's it on this one. I love you all. Keep it clean in the comments section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday, and I'll see you in the next video.